I'm here today with Ralph Alvorado, who is a delegate from Kentucky. I'm a Republican delegate, I might add, and he is a very interesting guy from my home state. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what exactly brought you here to the Republican National Convention, and how Hispanic in Kentucky. I've been gone from Kentucky. There were no Hispanics when I was there. None.
Well, there's a big, I mean, it's interesting for me. You know, I grew up in California. I grew up in San Jose.
Okay.
Went to school out in San Bernardino, California. Went to college and med school there.
Right.
And then I was looking for a place to train at for residency. And I had
I forgot to mention you're a doctor.
Yes, I'm a physician. So, so I had a roommate who was from New York. His girlfriend from Georgia. And I said, hey, guys, you've been out, you know, the most east I had gone was maybe Arizona, Nevada. And I said, hey, look, you know, wherever I wind up going to train, I'll probably wind up setting up a practice there. Where should I go? His girlfriend, Tammy, I don't remember her last name, they broke up since then, but her dad was a colonel in the Army, grew up in Lexington, and she says, you need to go to Kentucky. Don't go to Ohio, Tennessee, and they're all boring. Kentucky, you'll love it. So I wound up interviewing out there. I liked Lexington, and we went to residency there for 4 years. And we loved it. We fell in love with the area. And then my wife and I had an opportunity to go set up practice in Winchester. And since then, my parents moved out there, my wife's parents moved out there, and everybody came out. So it's just kind of, that's the way Kentucky goes.
And so you like it?
We love it, yeah.
Now, you have run already for Congress, is that right?
Yeah, so...
And how did that go?
Well, we went, we got beat. So we're in a district that's very heavily Democratic. It's about 3-to-1 Democrat to Republican ratio. No medical tort reform, medical liability reform in Kentucky. We need it nationwide, but in the state, we're one of 10 states that has nothing for physicians in that regard. Got me really fired up. It was around the time when Bush Gore kind of campaign was going down. Guy knocked on our door for Ernie Fletcher, who was running for governor at that time. My wife told the guy that knocked on our door, yeah, my husband's been interested and he's getting fired up. So I got a phone call from the local county chair about 2 weeks later, and the rest is kind of history. He recruited me to run for state house.
So obviously you're not stopping there. You still have your practice, correct?
Yeah, correct. I mean, the legislature's a part-time gig, so I'd still, right. I mean, to me, my medical practice is the accolade of my life. I mean, that's what I do.
Yeah, but just the fact that you're involved in the political process of the country is, you know, that's most people don't get involved in it. In fact, even voting, they don't get involved in it. I looked at a statistic the other day, 75,000 plus registered voters in New York State were dead. That didn't keep 2,700 of them from voting. Yeah, right. So, I mean, if dead people are voting, at least we could get out of it.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's our duty, really. You know, I have 2 kids growing up, and, you know, I'm fearful. I mean, I remember growing up with my father, who was an immigrant to this country. He came from Costa Rica. Took a lot of pride in coming here legally. Right. And, you know, when I turned 18, he took me to the post office. You're going to sign up. If your country calls you, you're going to go. And, you know, installed that pride in me as a kid. And growing up during the Reagan years, I mean, that's kind of what influenced me to be a Republican, believing in smaller government, you know, and getting government really out of the way of our lives. And it's, you know, it's given me a passion to read up on what our country was founded on. I've studied a lot of Revolutionary War history, our founding fathers, what their initial message was, what they envisioned, and we're losing sight of that vision. And so, having that pride installed in me,
well, I have a whole thing that I've been trying to push with my people. It's called Back to the Future. In order to get to our future, we need to go back to our founding fathers and rediscover what they had in mind, and because it's been lost over the years, lost.
And I, you know, and I continue to read on this. You see, you read, you know, just even biographies on our presidents, where they've come from. You know, all the debates that we're having today have already been had. I mean, debates on, you know,
for thousands of years.
Yes, right, exactly.
That's one thing I don't think people understand. They always think it's new, and it's not new.
No, it's been there, and you can just go back 200 years.
Hey, listen, I mean, I've passed this on before. I'll pass it on to you. The Washington quote that I ran across, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and he said he was describing what government is and what it isn't. And he starts off with what it isn't, and he says, government is not reason. It is not eloquent. Do you know this?
No, I haven't heard it.
Check this out. Government is not reason. It is not eloquent. It is force. It's like fire. It's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. And we have got, I mean, these guys, They knew all of this stuff. To think that we have evolved to the point where we don't need that kind of instruction anymore approaches the absurd.
It is, yeah, you're right.
And so, anyway, that's what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating going back to the Constitution, which is what we should be doing, and this evolution of man beyond what our natural, normal principles are is just stupid to me.
The things that we're, that at least on a national scale, the Democrats are pushing. This has already failed them and tried, and we see what's happening in Europe now.
Excuse me. I mean, it's like all around us, and they're in denial.
Right.
And you wonder why, because, well, we're going to find out if the American people are paying that close attention, and I only pray that they are. But let me ask you something. Being a doctor, I have several doctor friends in Texas that I talk to and around the country. I have never really talked to one that said, Obamacare is going to serve me and my patients really well. I'm excited about it. I'm serious about this.
No, you're right.
I'm excited about it coming, and I think it's the right thing to do for the country. I have not had one. Now, I don't run in just Republican circles and conservative circles. I can't find anybody to agree with it.
Yeah, here's what's happening. Private physicians, which was the bulk of physicians in this country up until the last 5 years, but private doctors who are independent obviously oppose. It's going to destroy practices in rural America. In Kentucky, it's going to destroy the practice of health care.
Okay, yeah. Saying that,
yeah.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's going to destroy all the things you said it's going to destroy. What is the purpose?
Yeah, I mean, you have a president who's from a big city. What he views, he's already said his ideal model for healthcare is the Mayo Clinic. Big city in one location, everyone comes there. If you're from Ashland, you know how it is in rural Kentucky. I mean, you have a country doc who's out, who might service 2 or 3 counties. He's the only guy there. Anybody over the age of 55 in private medicine right now is looking how to get out, change careers, retire, or they're going to go to cash only if they can.
One of my best friends is a vascular surgeon. He's now in the oil business.
Yeah, honestly.
Honestly, it's true. And the guy's a chief resident. He was a very experienced, good guy, and he's not doing it anymore.
I got a doc. I know a friend of mine became a trucker. I know a friend of mine who's become a carpenter. He plays golf now. He doesn't have to worry about lawsuits.
Well, it's that old joke about, the plumber showing up and giving the bill, and the guy says, my God, this is a lot of money. I didn't make that much money when I was a doctor. And the plumber says, neither did I.
Yeah, exactly. But that's happening. We're losing docs. Now, the guys who support this stuff are, county hospital employees, government employees. Guys who support Obamacare are university docs who are salaried, who have very limited exposure to patients in clinic. They might work a half a day a week in clinic, and the rest of the time is in research. Those of us who are in the grunts in the front line taking care of people every day, it is going to drown us. And
So if Obamacare stays and it's not overturned, and I'm sure that they'll modify it some way, because they always modify. They always have to tinker with everything, and whether that'll be good or bad, God only knows. But let's just say that it's now law. We're not going to defeat it. What does that mean for the average? Well, let me take it from a senior's point of view. What does that mean for seniors? Do you know?
I think for seniors, it's going to limit their access to care. So younger adults, see a doctor once every year, 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
You'll probably find someone who will see you. You'll get your care taken care of, and you won't worry about it. Anyone who has any kind of a chronic medical condition is going to have limited access to care, because having a health insurance card in your pocket doesn't give you health care. Health care is not a pill. It's not IV tubing. It's not a hospital bed. It's a doctor or a nurse administering care to you and deciding what's best for you. And no one really has a right to those people. We get to choose who we take care of also.
Right.
So what they're doing now, what the system is doing, is you're driving doctors under employment models. I mean, I think the stat was 5 years ago, 60% of doctors were independent, private doctors. Now it's down to 33%. Everyone's getting bought up. Once these systems own you, then you work for the system, you can get fired. You're hired for 3-year contracts. Are you productive enough? Are you not? It's almost like being an athlete, Excuse me. So it's not, these guys aren't, what you're going to see is less physicians going into it. A lot of guys are going to drop out. I would predict in 2014, when the EMR, the electronic medical record requirements for these older docs, is being put into place, the guys who are 55 are being told, invest $200,000 in an electronic medical record system. They'll say, I'm not going to spend that kind of money. I'm kind of on the downside of my career. I'm not going to do it.
Well, they spend more than most of the time filling out requirements it's paperwork.
Oh yeah, and we've had an electronic record system for 10 years. We're pretty efficient. We're pretty lean in our practice, but we're also very tight on margins. This 2%, we have this failed super committee. They're taking 2% out of the doctor's pockets, out of healthcare pockets. That 2% for my practice will put us in the red. And we're looking now at St. Joseph Health System, big health system in Kentucky. We're talking to them about maybe under their ownership, and you know, for a lot of physicians, we dread that. We enjoy being independent, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to have less physicians. People are going to have all these insurance cards. You're going to have longer lines in ERs and no one to take care of these folks. And less people going into medicine. I mean, the guys who are the 4.0 students in college, it used to be you look at medicine, you know, it was a guaranteed job, which it still, I think, is. You're going to be able to work. But the lawsuit risks, the paperwork, you're being told what to do now by government in many aspects. The guys who are smart enough are saying, you know, I'll become a computer engineer and design video games and make a lot more money, work a 40-hour week, and none of that paperwork.
The future does not look good.
It does not.
It really
look good
does
in a lot of ways. I mean,
in research and development and everything, it'll all fall off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
because money is. They say money is the mother's milk of politics. Well, it's the mother's milk of everything. Thank you.
Yes.
So.
I'll give you an example. You mentioned your friend who's a vascular surgeon, a cardiothoracic surgeon right now. We're only filling about 10% of our slots nationally for those guys. When they come out, it's usually, you know, they go through medical school, and then it's 8 years of fellowship training to be a CT surgeon. They used to make really good money because they're doing heart bypasses, valve replacements.
He did all of that. He's done everything.
Those guys now, to get for a 5-hour heart bypass and the 90 days of care that follow, that means they have to go back to the operating room, every visit in the office, in the hospital.
I've been there, by the way.
They're getting paid $1,500 now by Medicare for that.
Oh my word!
Their malpractice as a virgin doctor coming out is $90,000 a year in medical malpractice insurance. They have to do, you know, after taxes, probably 120 of those cases just to pay their malpractice. Those guys are making less than family practice doctors coming out of residency, so no one is going into that field. In about 15 years, there'll be none of them around.
Nobody's really talking about this at this level either, of the level of understanding of saying we're going to have too few doctors, but they don't really tell you why.
Because the American public is just used to showing up and someone will take care of you. We've never had a shortage of that kind of workforce. Doctors are a commodity, and we don't view them that way. We just treat them like you're getting paid your $50, you have to see me, you got to.
Well, they're like policemen. You figure they're going to be there, they're going to be there.
Right.
Who was it, the woman in Camden, the mayor? She just shut down the police department. They ran out of money. She said, well, get rid of the police department. They wouldn't go after bureaucrats or parks and recreation, or they go after nurses, doctors, firemen.
The people that keep us safe.
It's just the things that make us afraid. It's just hysterical.
Yeah.
So appreciate you coming on.
No,
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you so much.